Mud churned under frantic boots, the stench of rotting vegetation and cordite thick in the humid air of the Mekong Delta. It was Odo 200 hours, March 1968, and Corporal Nguyen Van Thuc gripped his AK-47 tighter, his breath ragged as he crouched in the root-tangled undergrowth. The night exploded with American screams over the radio, raw, desperate yells piercing the darkness like shrapnel. "This is SEAL Team 2, Bravo Platoon. We're pinned down at grid XS 482719. Requesting immediate airstrike. Charlies everywhere." The voice crackled through captured enemy frequencies, unencrypted, booming from a hidden receiver in Thuc's command post. Tracer rounds stitched the sky, illuminating the massive silhouettes of overloaded American frogmen slogging through chest-deep swamp, their Stoner 63 machine guns chattering wildly, bandoliers of ammo slapping against sweat-soaked torsos. 50 pounds of gear, grenade launchers, mortars, extra mags, dragged them down like anchors, turning every step into a sucking betrayal by the mud. Thuc's lips curled in a grim smile. His Viet Cong trackers had followed their deep footprints for hours, easy prey in the Delta's labyrinth. But then, silence. The American barrage faltered, replaced by a ghost on the airwave, barely audible, a whisper so faint it could have been the wind through mangrove. "Sunray, this is Patrol 30. Target confirmed, whispering chords, Yankee Sierra 493-721, flank vector 090, over." No panic, no volume, just surgical precision in an Australian drawl, coordinates murmured like a lover's secret. Thuc froze. How could shadows in the jungle orchestrate death with breaths instead of bellows, while the mighty SEALs broadcast their doom for the world to hear? Before he could relay the intercept, hell descended, not from the front, where the Yanks flailed, but from the flanks. Silent figures materialized from the foliage, belt kits slung low on hips, no rattling packs, no clanking steel. AK fire met suppressed bursts, and Thuc's squad vanished into the green, picked off like whispers themselves. This wasn't just one skirmish in the endless Vietnam quagmire. It was the clash of empires redefined by jungle rule, where the U.S. Navy SEALs stormed in with brute force fury, only to be outmaneuvered by the Australian SAS regiment's phantom tactic. Reports from captured VC diaries, declassified in the Pentagon Papers, revealed the paranoia gripping enemy commanders. The Yankees roar like tigers, easy to track. The Aussies glide like snakes, no trail, no sound, striking from nowhere. While SEALs hauled 50-plus pounds of firepower, enough to level a village, they sank into the Delta's muck, their radios screaming positions to any listener within miles. The Aussies, 25 pounds max, distilled to lethal essence. Why whisper coordinates when your rivals broadcast theirs? The answer lay in a tactical revolution born from the green hell itself. From the Viet Cong's foxholes, the SEALs were monsters, faceless behemoths crashing through the night. Thuc had seen it before. Operation Seafloat, 67, when a SEAL platoon hit their supply cache at My Tho. Through enemy after-action reports smuggled to Hanoi, now archived in the Australian War Memorial, we glimpsed the terror. "The Americans came like thunder," one VC lieutenant scribbled, ink smudged by trembling hands. "Their guns never stopped, stoners howling, grenades blooming fire. We heard them a kilometer out, packs crashing branches, boots pounding mud into craters. By dawn, half my men lay twisted in the slime, but we ambushed the stragglers. Their weight betrayed them. They couldn't run, couldn't hide. The SEALs dominated firefights, all right. Superior firepower shredding bunkers, M79 grenade launchers, turning trails to craters. But in the Delta's veins, where vines choked paths narrower than a man's shoulders, that glory rusted. Overloaded, they left bootprints like craters on the moon, audible grunts echoing as they wrestled 22 kilos of steel through sucking ooze. VC trackers, per U.S. intelligence intercepts, nicknamed them Iron Elephants. Predictable, plodding, their radio chatter a dinner bell. Contrast that with the nightmare from down under. Imagine Thuc's relief turning to dread as SAS patrols ghosted their lines. No thunder, no footprint. Australian SASR troopers, fresh from Malaya's jungles, viewed Vietnam as a stealth laboratory. Declassified SASR training manuals from 1966 detail the obsession, "Mobility is survival. Every ounce is an enemy." They ditched rucksacks for belt kit, canvas webs hugging hips, distributing 20-25 pounds low and balanced, letting them slither under barbed wire or rastajar through ferns without a rustle. Toothbrush handles sawn short, ration packs halved to protein bars and salt tablets, ammo paired to essentials, Enough 7.62 rounds in 20-round mags to break contact and vanish, not siege a hill. We float where Yanks drown, one CSR sergeant confided in a letter home, quoted in veteran oral histories compiled by the Vietnam veterans. Through VCIs, these were demons. A North Vietnamese Army Scout's diary, translated in CIA Field Report 509268, paints the horror. Last night, no sound but rain, then whispers, chords exact, artillery screams in 5 minutes. We fired blind, hit nothing. Dawn, 5 of ours dead, throats slit clean, no tracks. They sleep in trees? The Aussies moved at double seal speed, per U.S. MAC-V comparative studies, flanking before the enemy pivoted, whispering grid references via encrypted bursts so quiet, operators strained to hear. No screaming radiomen. SASR doctrine mandated, voice procedure minimal. Bare chords, no chatter, preserving OPSEC like oxygen. While SEAL's heavy loads forced noisy repositions, broadcasting pleas for phantom jets, Aussies infiltrated deep, called precise fire, then melted away. Thug's unit learned it the hard way that March night. SEAL screams drew the trap, SS whispers sprung it. The Delta didn't care for firepower's roar, it rewarded the invisible. As Thuk stumbled back to base, radio silent, he couldn't shake the chill. What if the whispers never stopped? Thuk's boots squelched through the pre-dawn slime, heart hammering as he replayed the annihilation in his mind. No victory chants from his squad, just ghosts. Back at the bamboo-holed command bunker near Ben Tre, he slammed the captured U.S. radio down, waking his commissar with a frantic report. The Yankees screamed their doom, comrade, but the Australians, they whispered death from the shadows. The commissar, a wiry NVA veteran scarred from Dien Bien Phu, rubbed sleep from his eyes and snatched the logbook. Through smudged entries in VC operational diaries, now digitized in the U.S. National Archives Vietnam Center, we see the ripple of terror spreading, patrols vanishing, supply lines severed not by thunderous assaults, but by pinprick strikes that left no trace. From the enemy's vantage, the SEALs were predictable predators, ironclad juggernauts whose fury announced itself a village away. Picture it through the commissar's paranoia. He'd huddle with his radio men at Oro 400, ears strained for the giveaway roar. Declassified MACV intelligence summaries from April 1968 detailed the pattern. SEAL Platoon 7, during Operation Bold Mariner, broadcasted raw desperation. Grid XS 512-735, mortars inbound, need gunships now. Their voices boomed unencrypted across the Delta, a banquet for any PRC-77 tuned in. Overloaded with 50 pounds of hell, Stoner 63's modular beasts chewing 5.56 meters at 1,000 rounds per minute, M60 slung with 500 link belts, Mk-18 grenade launchers bloated with 40mm HE. The frogmen waded canals like drowning rhinos. Mud claimed their boots first, then their speed. VC trackers in after-action reports, quoted in Australian SASR debriefs held at Russell offices in Canberra, laughed bitterly. Americans carve highways in the swamp. We follow the ruts to their graves. Their radios screamed because they had to. Pinned by their own weight, unable to maneuver, they called in the sky's wrath to compensate. Phantoms and cobras would obliterate square kilometers. Collateral be damned, but the delay betrayed them. Commissar Lay's diary, captured in a May 68 raid and translated in CIA document release Dves VN 147B, captures the fleeting triumph. SEALs roar into our traps. We melt away, let their bombs chase echoes. Their packs drag them like corpses. We hear the curses, smell the fear sweat a lee away. Brute force won firefights, turning bunkers to splinters, but the jungle's calculus favored the ephemeral. SEALs sustained positions with firepower mountains, extra mortar tubes, claymores in bandoliers, but at the cost of silence. Every clank of an M79 or grunt hauling a 22-kilo load painted targets on their backs. Enter the Australian whisperer, and the commissar's smugness curdled to dread. SASR patrols didn't storm, they seeped. No elephant trails, no bellowed pleas. Their belt kits, sleek, hip-hugging rigs of nylon webbing and pouches, carried the war's essence. SLR rifles with 20-round L1A1 mags trimmed for crawl, silenced Owen submachine guns for night work, a compass, water tabs, and razor wire cut. 25 pounds max, low center of gravity, letting them ghost over mangrove. Declassified SASR patrol report from 2 Squadron, archived in the Australian Department of Defence, revealed the doctrine, light is life. Move as the leech, Silent, tireless. They'd sawn toothbrush handles to nubs, rationed bully beef to thumbnail slabs, ammo to break and burn. Enough suppressed bursts to shatter a point ambush, then evaporate. Through VC ear, this was sorcery. Lee scribbled feverishly one monsoon night. No thunder precedes them. Rain falls, then our sentry gurgles. Throat opened soundless. Radio hisses faint. Sunray, Patrol 1-1, Yankee Sierra 513742. Confirm fire out. Minutes later, 105-meter shells kiss our hooch exact. No escape. They sleep? No. Harnessed in branches? Blacked out. The whispers weren't bravado. They were survival math. SASR voice procedure. Per 1967 training appendices released under FOIA, mandated brevity. Chords only, phonetic crisp, volume dialed to breath. No pinned down hysteria. Radiomen cupped mics inches from lips, antennas collapsed to evade direction finding. While SEAL screams lit up enemy scopes for kilometers, Aussie bursts faded into static, operators straining in humid bunkers to decipher the Australian burr. Contrast the scales. SEALs wielded village array, trading mobility for dominance, like swinging a sledgehammer in a spiderweb, shattering foes but ensnaring self. SASR. Scalpels in the dark, slicing nerves before the body to U.S. Army Comparative Analysis, buried in RAND Corporation study, RM 5921 VN, 1970, clocked it cold. SAS patrols covered 15 clicks daily through Delta filth. SEALs maxed 7, bogged by gear that turned flanks to fantasy. VC paranoia peaked in NVA Directive 14-68, intercepted by ASA SIGINT. Australians breed fear. Trackless, radios ghosts, double sentries, whisper countersigns. Lowe's men patrolled in threes now, knives out, jumping at leaf rustle. Sleep fractured by dreams of belt kit phantoms slithering under hooches. Thuc watched past that bunker, chain-smoking captured Luckies, eyes darting to the radio's mute dial. A week later, it happened again. Faint Aussie murmur. Grid Yankee Sierra 487739. Adjust 5 mics left. And Lou's rice cache erupted pinpoint hell. No SEAL roar to herald it, just precision from the void. The commissar clutched his diary. They make tigers of us all. Hunting whispered in the wet. The Delta's verdict was clear. Weight killed slower than silence. But as Thuc bandaged a flak grace, he wondered, how deep did these snakes burrow before they struck the heart? Dawn broke sticky and blood-red over the Rungsat Specials, July 19, as Commissar Lowe dispatched Thuc's reinforced platoon, 30 hardened sappers, to hunt the... Find their trails, Leigh snarled, thrusting a dog-eared map dotted with X's where rice drops had burned to ash. No more whispers. We bait the Yankees' roar, crush the snakes in the crossing. Thuc nodded, machete biting vines as they slipped into the mangrove maze. Hearts buoyed by fresh AKs and RPG-7s scavenged from a downed Huey. But deep down, the chill lingered. Lee's bunker logs, later captured and filed in McKeevy's order of battle files at the U.S. Army Heritage Center, betray the commander's unraveling. Aussies burrow like termites. Patrols return half-strength, babbling of shadows with no weight. From the sappers' sweat-stung eyes, the SEALs remained the blunt apocalypse, predictable as monsoon floods. Intelligence whispers from Hanoi painted them storming Phu, my 2 weeks prior. Grid XS 467728, pinned by bunkers, roll in the gunships. Their PRC-77s had blared the plea across 20 miles, drawing every VC ear like moths to a flare. Overloaded frogmen churned canals, 55 pounds of doom dragging them. Stoner 63s reconfigured for light machine gun fuel, 200-round belts coiled like serpents, M72 Law rockets, bulging pouches, even 60mm mortar tubes slung awkwardly for hip pocket fire support. Declassified SEAL after-action reports from SEAL Team 1, released via the Freedom of Information Act in 2005, admit the toll. Mud turned gear to anchors, flanks exposed, couldn't break contact without air. VC sappers, per NVA 1st Division combat journals archived in the Vietnam Military History Museum, tracked them by the swath. Boot craters deep as fists, snapped branches screaming positions, grunts audible over frog croaks. Iron elephants charge, one sapper etched before dying. We fade, let them sink, then RPG from the trees. Scale it against the commissar's nightmare. SEALs assaulted like medieval siege engines. Sledgehammers pulverizing gates, but splintering in the web of roots. 50 kilos of steel screamed dominance in open firefights, turning sampan flotillas to matchwood. But in the delta's capillary veins, paths choked to knee width by nipa palms, that mass betrayed. They broadcasted because immobility demanded it. Pinned, they'd scream for F-4 Phantoms to glass the grid, buying time their legs couldn't. Commissar Lay mocked it in his diary, ink furious. Yanks trade suns for square kilometers. We live to fight. They die calling the sky. Then the whispers clawed back, surgical as a garrote. Thuk's platoon froze at 1300 hours, crouched in a hoopla grass blind overlooking a suspected crossing at grid YS 493721. No thunder heralded the trap, just humidity thickening, birds falling silent. SASR Patrol 24, per declassified Australian War Memorial dispatches from 3 Squadron, had infiltrated 12 clicks deep overnight. Belt kits whispering over the ooze. 23 pounds. L1A1 SLRs with shortened 20-round mags of 7.62 mm ball, precise for 300-meter headshots, not suppression. Owen SMGs silenced for sentries, Claymore bags slimmed to essentials, rations nubbed to glucose tabs and iodine crystals. No rucksack drag. Hip rigs balanced low, letting them float routes like water spiders, per veteran accounts in the book Phantom in the Jungle, compiled from SASR oral history. They'd sawn canteen caps to half size, trimmed poncho liners to capelet, every gram a ghost's breath. Through Thuk's binoculars, they materialized not as men, but vapors condensing from the green. No crashing advance, figures slithered flanks, low crawling under ferns without a leaf's tremor, rifles cradled like newborn. One paused, cupped his 52-set radio to lips, antenna stubbed short, and breathed, Sunray Minor 2-4, contact probable, YS 493721. Enemy cluster S20, request pink team, vector 270 over. Barely audible, phonetic chords crisp in Aussie burr, volume a conspirators hush. No ambush imminent panic. Doctrine from SASR's 1968 Vietnam SOPs, quoted in the Australian National Archives, drilled it, voice as weapon, minimal, misdirect, vanish. Operators in Lou's distant net, strained, replaying tapes, while ASA SIGINT at Pooquok confirmed Aussie bursts evaded triangulation, fading into delta static. Panic ripped Thuk's squad like shrapnel. RPG team swung barrels blind into mist, crack, but hit vapor. Suppressed bursts answered, pop, pop, pop. Owen guns coughing 9mm subsonics, sappers crumpling with neat entry wounds, no echoes to betray. Thuk fired from the hip, AK chattering, but the Phantoms rolled, belt kits molding to mud, flanking at speeds SEALs could only dream. Double the pace, per Rand's 1970 mobility metric. One Aussie rose fluidly, 25 pounds shifting like silk, lobbed a phosphorus grenade pinpoint into the RPG nest. White fire bloomed, screams muffled by swamp. Then the sky answered the whisper. UH-1 Hueys and Cobra gunships, vectored exact, rotors a distant thrum building to judgment. Les Diary, seized post-mortem in Operation Speedy Express sweeps, captures the commissar's final unraveling. Radio ghosts our souls. No tracks to follow, no roars to ambush. They called death breathing. We die screaming silence. Thuk dragged a dying sapper through mangrove, artillery walking the grid in 50-meter bounds. 105mm kissing hides with surgical hate, no kilometer-wide carpet. Half his platoon vaporized, the rest scattered, whispering their own chords to Phantoms now. Back at base, Li Shan smoked, eyes hollow, mandating radio blackouts that starved his own command. VC paranoia metastasized. NVA, 7th Regiment orders, intercepted in CIA grumble docks, tripled trail watchers, strung tripwires nightly, sleep shattered by wind's mimicry of crawls. The Delta judged merciless. SEAL hammers shattered bones but built no fear. SAS scalpels carved psyches, turning hunters to prey. Thuk bandaged burns in a fever hooch, radio mute, but as cobras circled unseen, he knew. The burrow reached the heart now. How long before the whispers named Le's very bunker? Thuk's fever raged under the fever hooch's leaky thatch, pus seeping from phosphorus burns as distant cobra rotors faded into monsoon growl. August 1968, Rungsat's heart and Commissar Le's command post, a camouflaged spider web of bunkers linked by tunnel veins, hummed with desperation. Le pored over intercepted scraps, his fingers yellowed from endless luckies, eyes bloodshot from nights without sleep. Captured in a later SSR raid and detailed in Australian Special Air Service Regiment operational logs from 2 Squadron, Now housed at the Australian War Memorial in Canberra, Lee's final directive revealed the fracture. Shadows own the wires. No radios after dusk. Kill whispers with knives. Thuk, dosed on smuggled morphine, overheard the commissar muttering to his NVA advisor, "The Yankees we fight with bullets, the Australians with our own fear." From the bunker's stifling gloom, SEAL operations still loomed as blunt Armageddon, cathedrals of firepower crumbling under jungle. Lee's intelligence cell replayed tapes from a week prior. SEAL Team 2's Echo Platoon slamming into a sampan convoy at grid XS 521742. "This is Echo Lead. Grid XS 521742. RPG swarming. Heavy contact. Get the spookies and artillery now." The PRC-77 had thundered unencrypted, a flare for every Delta ear. Declassified U.S. Navy after-action reports from the Naval Historical Center described the overload. Frogmen hauling 52 pounds, Stoner 63s belted with 400 rounds of 5.56, twin M60s for suppression, 60mm mortars balanced precariously, law rockets nested like eggs. They shredded the convoy, tracers painting the canal red, but the mud exacted revenge. VC trackers, per NVA 9th Division field notes archived in the U.S. Army Center of Military History's Vietnam electronic records followed the gouges. Elephant paths lead to ambushes. We wait. RPGs hungry. Lou savoured those echoes, sketching kill zones around predicted SEAL route. Wide canals where weight drowned fury. Their radios screamed because bulk bred vulnerability. Pinned in chest-deep slime, unable to flank without air cavalry. They'd broadcast grids like invitations. Scale it brutally. SEALs were siege rams, pulverizing bunkers with M79 blooper rounds and Claymore walls, erasing platoons in minutes, but at the price of trails like superhighways, clanking gear betraying positions 500 meters out. Commissar Lou's diary, translated in CIA Vietnam monograph The Barker CM34869, gloated, "Iron elephants bellow for gods to save them. We dance in the footprints, strike the flanks when wings delay. Firefights won, but pursuits lost. SEALs held ground with firepower ziggurats, only to yield it when overloaded legs faltered. Yet the whispers eroded that calculus, turning Lou's web into SASR patrol. 3-1 had burrowed closer per declassified dispatches from the Australian Department of Defence's Vietnam files, infiltrated 18 cliques under cover of Typhoon Bess, belt kits at 24 pounds, SLR rifles stripped to 19-round mags of match-grade 7.62, silenced Sterling SMGs for guards, no. 82 Claymores winched slim, rations reduced to saltfish twists and caffeine lozenges, toothpaste tubes sliced open, contents dried into pouches, ponchos quartered for Cape Rain, low-slung hip rigs let them swim the muck, center of gravity hugging Earth, moving 20 clicks daily where SEALs crawled 8. SASR doctrine from 1968 addendums, quoted in the RAND Corporation's Jungle Warfare Metrics report, RM 6123VN, mandated it, light loads haka lethal speed, crawl as water, strike as needle. Thuk felt it first that humid dusk, posted on bunker perimeter with 6 sappers, nerves frayed by Lou's whisper hunts. No birdsong, just drip-drip from fronds. Then, a breath on the net, so faint his captured A510 strained. Sunray Major, 3-1, LP sighted, Yankee Sierra 524745. Bunker cluster confirmed, Est HQ. Adjust fire plan Alpha 2, Vector 180, over. Aussie Burr, coords phonetic pure, volume a dying exhale, no excess syllables, no panic. Lee's radioman clawed the volume, triangulating futilely, as ASA SIGINT at Vung Tau logged the evasion. Bursts under 2 seconds, antennas furled, directionals lost in static soup, chaos uncoiled silent as venom. Thuk's sentry gurgled first, Owen's submachine guns suppressed 9mm kissing carotid, body eased into ferns without rustle. Phantoms coalesced from roots, figures in blacked camo, belt kits fluid as second skin, no pack bulges to snag vines. One slithered under wire, 24 pounds distributing like mist, knife flashing in Thuk's foxhole mate's throat. AKs barked wild, crack, crack. But SAS rolled prone, mags dumping precise 7.62 into muzzles, barrels blooming dark blood. Thuk dove, firing blind, rounds chewing leaves while an Aussie flanked at impossible clip, double seal pace, per U.S. Marine Corps Observer reports in MECV Annex G12. A Claymore whispered det, whoomp, shredding the radio hooch in steel hail. Lee's screams cut mid-curse. The sky sealed it. Aussie Cord summoned Fire Plan Alpha 2, not carpet bombs, but 150 million firecracker rounds, 150 in tree bursts, vectored to 20-meter kills. Shells kissed bunkers like lovers, tunnels collapsing in surgical cave-ins, no wasted square. Lee staggered out, uniform shredded, clutching his diary as phosphorus licked the air. Ghosts. Breathing our end, he rasped. Per survivor accounts in captured NVA interrogations, filed under CIA Doc SOVN 289Q. Thuk dragged him into mangroves, platoon halved, radios smashed on Lou's order. But the whispers persisted, orbiting tighter. VC High Command reeled. NVA 5th Sapper Battalion circulars, intercepted in Operation Cedar Falls extensions and declassified in 2015 Pentagon release, mandated Aussie protocols. No lights post 2200, paired knives mandatory, ghost patrols of 5 to mimic the enemy. Les paranoia peaked, bunkers ringed with punji bells, sleep a luxury for fools. Men jerked awake at rain's patter, imagining hip-rig serpents under hooches. From sappers' haunted stairs, seal roars were tempests you weathered. SAS breaths were plagues, burrowing unseen, naming graves before hearts stopped. Thuk patched low in a tidal hide, artillery's echo fading, but the radio's ghost lingered. The commissar gripped his arm, voice a rasp. They've named us Thuk. The heart bleeds whispers now. As patrols tripled and trails emptied, one question clawed. Could silence outlast the snake's final coil? Moonlight silvered the tidal creek's oily surface, September 1968, as Thuk and Commissar Le huddled in their mangrove cradle, breaths shallow against the slap of wave. Lee's wounds wept through hasty bandages. His diary clutched like a talisman, pages swollen with frantic scrawls. The Rungsat's veins pulsed with unseen eyes. Thuk's remnants, 9 sappers scattered in tidal hides, knives drawn, ears straining for the inevitable. Lee's final order, etched in that blood-stained log and captured weeks later in SASR Operation Cobra Sweep, archived at the Australian War Memorial's Vietnam collection, exposed the abyss. The snakes coil the heart. Silence our only blade. No radios, no fires. Hunt the hunters blind. But silence mocked them. In the Delta's humid hush, absence screamed louder than any seal roar. From Le's fevered gaze, the Americans endured as thunderous relics, doomed titans whose echoes still rattled. He'd orchestrated ambushes on their bloated patrols, savoring the PRC-77 blasts from grid XS 534-748 just days prior. SEAL Lima platoon, heavy contact, XS 534-748, mortars zeroed, need Spectres orbiting now. The voice had boomed raw across 30 miles. Per ASA signal intercepts logged in National Security Agency, Vietnam cryptologic history files, declassified 2018. Frogmen had erupted from the canal like chained leviathans, 53 pounds grinding them down. Modular Stoner 63s snarling 5.56 mm belts of 300 linked rounds, M60s with 600 linked drums sagging shoulders, 60mm mortar bipods dangling like pendulums, Mk-19 grenade launchers, prototypes bloating belts. Declassified SEAL Team 1 logs from the U.S. Navy's operational archives detail the curse. Gear weight halved speed to a crawl, flanks hung in mud, air the only savior. VC pit traps, per NVA 261st Regiment after actions, translated in CIA Rural Pacification files, RP 09268, feasted on the gouges. Elephants thunder gifts, boot moons in slime, clanks like temple bells. RPGs greet the roar. Lay had thrived on that scale. Seals as battering rams, smashing sampans to flotsam with blooper grenades and claymore fronts, dominating kill zones like gods enraged. 50-plus kilos forged static fortresses, firepower pyramids sustaining sieges where lesser men broke. But the jungle's math was merciless. Mass-bred noise, trails like confessions, radios wailing for F4s to avenge immobility. Commissar Le rasped it to Thuk, voice a wet grind. Yanks wage war as siege, flatten villages for a foxhole. We bleed them slow, dancing their footprint. Their screams compensated for legs lost to ooze, broadcasting grids that mapped their own nooses, buying fiery salvation at the cost of surprise. Yet the whispers had metastasized. burrowing to the marrow. SAS 3 squadrons deep recon, per declassified patrol summaries from the Australian Department of Defence's AWM PR87-015 files, had threaded 22 clicks inward undetected, belt kits at 22 pounds, distilled lethality. L1A1 self-loading rifles with 18-round mags of 7.62 NATO precision load, trimmed for snapshots. Silenced F1 Austins or Owens for silent reap, no. 69 grenades pouched slim, claymores winched to 2-kilo packs, rations nubbed to boiled sweets, quinine tabs, razor blades taped to stocks, handles sawn flush on tools, ponchos halved to drip cloaks, hip rigs low and liquid, letting them glide mangrove arches at 25 clicks daily. Double seal slugs, as quantified in U.S. Army Special Forces Comparative Tactics Report, VN TAC 71, RAND RM 6234. SASR Voice Doctrine. From 1968 Field Signals Manual excerpts released via Australian FOIA equipment, etched it eternal. Breathe the battle. Chords phonetic, subvocal, under 3 seconds. Ghosts hear gods. Thuke smelled them first. Ozone of wet earth parting, no splash. Dusk thickened to ink when the net ghosted alive, faint as vein pulse on Lou's jury-rigged A510. Sunray Alpha 3-1 actual. HQ confirmed. Yankee Sierra 527747, Tidal Cluster, S10. Fire Mission Zulu 1, Vector 150, confirm over. Aussie Whisper, grids crystalline, no inflection wasted, breath volume dialed to mist. Lee's Sapper yanked the antenna, eyes wild, but triangulation drowned in creek static. ASA, at Tan Sun Nut, clocked the pro, directional null, burst evaporated. Uncoiling from the tide, they struck as fever dream. Thuke's flank sentry spasmed, silenced 9mm subsonic to spine, body folded silent into muck. Phantoms swelled from roots, camoed wraiths, belt kits hugging forms like Shadow's skin, no rucksack whispers to vines. One slithered Lou's hide perimeter, 22 pounds flowing prone, knife parting a sapper's watch, gurgle stifled by palm. Thuke lunged, AK muzzle questing dark, but suppressed SLR cracked precise. 7.62 tumbling through shoulder, spinning him into shallows. Lee fired blind from his litter, pistol barking, crack, grazing vapor. SAS rolled fluid, hip rigs molding waves, flanking in serpentine crawls, SEAL's bulk forbade. Metrics from MAC-V jungle mobility trials, 69 proving Aussies thrice nimble in. Claymores side first, whoomp, steel hail scything hides, sappers shredded mid-yell. Then the sky whispered judgment. Zulu 1, per SASR fire request protocols, coordinated 175mm long toms from fire support base pattern, 8-inch tree fuses kissing 15-meter sep, no kilometer-wide waste, shells mated bunkers exact, tidal surges boiling red, tunnels imploding in pinpoint dooms. Lee staggered up, diary tumbling, phosphorus veiling his scream. Snakes in the blood! A final Aussie rose tidal flat, belt kit dripping, Owen trained, pop, and the commissar folded, heart pierced. Thuke floated face down, world narrowing to burn, as cobras ghosted grids per the breath call, no seal bellow need. Lowe's remnants vaporized. NVA 7th Front High Command, per intercepted Directive 22-68 in Pentagon Papers Volume 4, dissolve the sector. Aussie Plague untracks victory, evacuate Rung Sathats. Paranoia ossified command. Hanoi memos, declassified 2020 in Vietnamese State Archives leak. Tripled ghost squads, radios bricked. Leaders slept knifed up in threes. Jungle's psyche fractured permanent. The Delta whispered its verdict. Firepower's roar echoes hollow where silence carves empires. SEAL hammers broke bodies. SAS breaths broke wills. Minimalism's scalpel eternal over brute sledge. In war's green hell, the lightest shadow strikes deepest, proving Leviathan yields to the ghost. He who whispers coordinates, commands the unseen board.